even notice it. It happens. You open your phone for something else, maybe just to check a message, maybe just to pass a little time. And then, without planning it, you're looking at something you weren't searching for. A product, clean, perfectly placed, almost like it was waiting for you. You pause, not because you need it, but because something about it feels right. A few seconds later, you're imagining it in your life. A few taps later, it's done. And the strange part is, it didn't feel like a decision. It felt natural. But here's the question most people never stop to ask. If you didn't plan it, if you didn't need it, then why did you buy it? Because what feels like a simple choice is often something much deeper. Something shaped over time, something influenced before you even realize it. Welcome to HistoFy, where we don't just talk about what you do, we uncover what's quietly shaping it. If you enjoy content that makes you pause, see your everyday habits differently, and understand the hidden patterns behind them, then hit like, share this with someone who's always wondering where their money went, and subscribe because this is just the beginning. Now let's take a closer look at something you do all the time, but rarely question. It usually begins in a way that feels too small to matter. You're not trying to buy anything, you're just scrolling, just passing time, just letting your attention drift from one thing to another. And then something appears. A product, clean, well lit, almost perfectly placed in front of you. You pause not because you need it, but because something about it feels right, familiar, maybe, or slightly exciting. Before you fully register what's happening, you tap, you explore, you consider. And within moments, the decision is made. It doesn't feel like a decision, though. It feels smooth, effortless, almost automatic. The package arrives later, you open it, you feel that brief moment of satisfaction. And then, life continues exactly as it was. And somewhere in that quiet gap between wanting and having, a question begins to form. If you didn't need it and it didn't change anything, why did you buy it? What makes this experience so convincing is how personal it feels. It feels like your choice, your preference, your decision. You saw something, you liked it, and you acted on it. But decisions like these rarely begin at the moment you think they do. They are shaped long before you ever notice them. Through repetition, through exposure, through patterns that slowly become invisible. The more you see something, the more familiar it feels. And familiarity has a quiet power. It reduces resistance. It lowers doubt. Over time, what was once new becomes normal. And what becomes normal stops being questioned. And when you finally act on it, it doesn't feel like influence. It feels like something you decided on your own. That's the illusion, not that you didn't choose, but that the choice was already shaped before it reached out. To understand why this happens, you have to step outside the modern world for a moment and look at how the human brain was originally wired. It evolved in environments where resources were limited, where opportunities were uncertain, and where survival depended on quick responses to potential rewards. The brain learned to pay attention to anything new, anything promising, anything that might improve the chances of survival. That mechanism still exists today. Even though the environment has completely changed, what we now call dopamine is not really about pleasure. It's about anticipation. It's the signal that something might be rewarding, and in a world filled with endless options, constant novelty, and continuous stimulation, that signal is triggered again and again. So when you see something online, your brain isn't evaluating whether you need it. It's responding to the possibility that it could matter. And that subtle shift from need to possibility is where behavior begins to change. There was a time when buying something was directly connected to necessity. You needed something, you went out and you got it. The process was simple, functional, and limited by effort. But as production increased and markets became saturated, businesses faced a new challenge: not how to create products, but how to create demand. And slowly, the focus shifted. Advertising stopped being about information and started becoming about emotion. Products were no longer just objects, they became symbols of lifestyle, identity, and aspiration. Branding added another layer, turning ordinary items into representations of who you are and who you want to be. And then came the digital era, where this influence no longer appeared occasionally but existed continuously. Desire was no longer something that arose naturally. It was something that could be shaped, guided, and repeated until it felt like it belonged to you. What makes the modern system so effective is that it doesn't feel like a system at all. It feels like convenience, it feels like personalization. But behind that experience is a structure designed to guide your attention and behavior with remarkable precision. Every interaction you have, what you watch, what you pause on, what you ignore, is quietly observed and processed. Algorithms begin to understand your preferences, often before you are fully aware of them yourself. And then they respond, not randomly, but intentionally. They show you what you are most likely to engage with, what you are most likely to consider, what you're most likely to buy. The interface removes friction, simplifies decisions, and shortens the distance between interest and action. And by the time you feel like you have made a choice, much of that path has already been shaped for you. At a deeper level, the act of buying is rarely about the product itself. It is about what the product represents. People don't just buy objects, they buy feelings, ideas, versions of themselves. A piece of clothing becomes confidence. A gadget becomes productivity. A brand becomes belonging. These associations are not accidental, they are carefully built over time, layered into the way products are presented and perceived. And because identity is something people are constantly shaping and expressing, purchasing becomes a way to reinforce it. It becomes less about having something and more about becoming something. And when buying connects to identity, it no longer feels optional. It feels meaningful. What makes this cycle so persistent is not just the desire to buy, but the way satisfaction works. After a purchase, there is a brief moment of fulfillment, a small sense of completion. But it doesn't last. Not because something is wrong, but because it was never designed to. The anticipation leading up to the purchase is often stronger than the experience of having it. And once that anticipation fades, the system begins again. A new trigger appears, a new desire forms, a new possibility emerges, and the cycle repeats. Trigger, desire, action, brief satisfaction, and then back to the beginning. It feels natural, but it is structured in a way that keeps it moving. What makes this even more powerful today is the environment we live in. There is no real off switch. The exposure is constant. Phones, apps, notifications, recommendations, they create a space where influence is always present, always active, always subtle. You're not stepping into a marketplace anymore. You're carrying it with you everywhere. And because of that, the line between thinking and reacting becomes thinner. Decisions happen faster, awareness becomes quieter, and what once required effort now happens almost instantly. At this point, it becomes clear that this is not just about buying things. It's about understanding how systems interact with human behavior, how environments shape decisions, how something as personal as choice can be influenced by structures that remain mostly invisible. This isn't about blame, and it isn't about control in a strict sense. It's about recognizing that behavior doesn't exist in isolation. It exists within systems that are designed, refined, and constantly evolving. And maybe that's the part that stays with you. Not the idea that you shouldn't buy things or that something is wrong with the way you act, but the realization that what feels natural, what feels like you, is often shaped by something larger, something quieter, something you don't always notice. And once you see that, even slightly, the experience changes. Not completely, but enough to make you pause the next time it happens. So the next time you find yourself about to buy something, not because you plan to, but because it just feels right in that moment, pause just for a second. Not to stop yourself, not to overthink it, but to notice it. Because sometimes the most powerful decisions in your life are the ones that don't feel like decisions at all. And maybe that's where the story really begins. If this video made you reflect even slightly, if you saw a part of your own behavior in it, then don't let that awareness stop you. Hit like so more people can discover what's quietly shaping their everyday choices. Share this with someone who's always saying, I don't even know why I bought this. And the comments? I want to hear from you. What's the last thing you bought that you didn't actually need? And if you enjoy content like this, where ordinary habits reveal something much deeper, then subscribe to HistoFy. Because here, we don't just talk about what you do, we explore why you do it. And trust me, the next story you watch here might make you question something you have been doing every single day.